Summer is here, and we are going to talk about the 9 books that I read in June. I can't believe that June is already done. Crazy. All right, so the first book I read was The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. This is an author I've wanted to read for quite some time. I've heard about his poetry before, and this book is sad and emotional and beautifully written. The first chapter is so poetic, and it gives you a taste of Vuong's poetry if you haven't read any, and I haven't. So I definitely want to read some. I haven't read a whole lot of poetry in quite some time. I used to really be into it when I was younger. I used to even write poetry, but it's been a minute. I have a standalone review for this book if you would like a little more info on it. I will put a link to that down below if you want to check it out. After that one, we have A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen, and this is the second book in the Unfated duology. This one, it follows the character Freya. She is the Shield Maiden, and she has a drop of Hlin's blood and a drop of Hel's blood. And there's this crazy prophecy that is whoever controls the Shield Maiden will unite the kingdoms and be king, and thousands will die, this, that, and the other. And so everybody wants to control Freya. In the first book, she was married to this king that she didn't want to marry, ended up like falling for the son of the king, and then there was a whole bunch of weird stuff, and that's why I blathered on about the first book being stepmom porn, because it's smut. There's quite a bit of smut in the book. I enjoyed both of these. I thought the story was pretty addictive. If you like smut, it's fun. Some parts are a little cheesy. If you like stories that have Norse mythology, stuff with different gods and goddesses, it's a fun read. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Okay, after that one, I read a book called Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen, and I'd really liked this author's prior book that I read, My Darling Dreadful Thing, which was really good. This one, also pretty good. It's super weird. It's a vampire story, but it's a different twist on the vampire story. I don't know how many twists people can get out of these vampire stories, but I keep coming across them, and this one was pretty good. So it follows the story of these twin sisters, and the one sister is married to this man, and on their property, this big estate that they live on is kind of surrounded by like the bog. And one day the workers find this like bog body. And so the husband and wife, they go and look at it. What was weird about the body is there was like stakes driven through like the arms and through the shoulders and in different points of the body. And there was a big rock in the mouth of the bog body. And so the sister goes and she tries and takes the rock out of the mouth of this body. First of all, why would you do that? And she scrapes her knuckles on the teeth, and then blood gets into the mouth of this body. I mean, it had stakes in it. Probably a vampire, guys. Just saying. Why would they do that otherwise? I don't know. So, all of a sudden, the sister becomes gravely ill and starts deteriorating at a very rapid pace. And so the other sister, her twin, comes to stay with her. And then when she gets there, her sister's like, you need to leave, like, get out of here. She's like, something is wrong. And she had been writing her letters too, that kind of like were getting a little like more out there and crazier and crazier. It's a crazy story. If you like vampire stories and if you like gothic horror, Blood on Her Tongue was pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. After that, I read a book called Good Soil by Jeff Chu, and this is a book about farming, how that relates to spirituality, a lot of like metaphor with the soil and with compost and where you come from and watching the growth of different plants and stuff that bears fruit. And Jeff kind of like walks you through it and talks about like his background and what happened with his parents, like when they found out that he was gay, and then talking about his faith and also how he became like an accidental farmer and just like his life. And I love stuff that has to do with farming and the earth and all of that stuff and people's stories. So it was a really good book if you were into that kind of thing. And that was a nonfiction, if I didn't say that. After that one, I read a really weird book about big birds by Christopher Golden called The Nightbirds. All right, so follows the main character. One night she's outside, dark, crickets are making a ruckus. All of a sudden, everything goes silent. Like that weird, eerie silence that happens when Bigfoot or the aliens are coming. Nothing good is coming when that silence hits. Like all the creatures are like, oh, nope, time to get out of here. And a woman with a child appears. in the yard, and she's like, hey, Ruby, what's going on? She's like, how do you know my name? Turns out the child she has is Ruby's sister Bella's child, and that she was involved with this coven of women who worship this goddess named Stratum, who is the mother of all birds. And she tells her this crazy story about how the coven wanted to murder this child and bring back their goddess. And the woman who came, it turns out like Ruby's sister Bella was murdered by the coven, and this was the woman that was her lover. They were together. And once Bella had the baby, they kind of changed their mind and were like, we need to not go through with this and whatnot. And so she comes to Ruby for help. And Ruby doesn't believe her. She's like, witchcraft doesn't exist. You're speaking crazy stuff. That's not real. But she will come to believe it. And the mother of all birds, right? The night birds. There's probably some giant birds in this. The owls are not what they seem, you know? It's a weird one. I also have a standalone review for that one as well. Now I will link that down below. I have standalone reviews actually for most of these. So all those videos down in the darkness. After that one, I read Stephen King's newest, Never Flinch. And that is a crime fiction. And that stars one of King's beloved characters, Holly Gibney. It pulled me in pretty quickly. It wasn't immediate. Like, it had to build up a little bit. And then I was into it. There was a man and he was murdered in prison, but he was convicted of a crime that he didn't commit. And so someone who knew him finds out about this, and they decide that they are going to kill 13 innocent and 1 guilty because of this. And they have this whole like weird rationale because of this Blackstone rule that's like, better 10 guilty, go free, the 1 innocent suffer. So whatever this dude's rationale was something weird. And so he sends this letter under the name Bill Wilson, who was the founder of AA. And so, you know, it's a fake name that he gives and sends it to the police. And then the police contact some other police forces and they're like, what do you guys think of this? Do you think this guy's actually for real, you know, that this is going to happen and whatnot? And then the people start dying and they're like, okay, they are. And so they have to figure out, why is this happening? Who's doing this? How are they going to catch them? Holly gets brought into this because one of the detectives on the case, Izzy, is friends with Holly. And so she's like, let me get some of your feedback. You're always really good at putting stuff together, this, that, and the other. And so Holly starts kind of like digging into it a bit to find out what's going on, because she's not really got a whole lot going on. She's just trying to track down some missing jewelry right now. And it's not very interesting. And this case has her intrigued. At some point, too, you get another storyline going on. There's also this other woman, this author, Kate, who wrote this book. She is a feminist. It's about women power, and she has someone that's been following her and threatening her, and had actually ended up sending her assistant to the hospital, and the threats keep escalating. And so at some point she decides that she's going to hire a female bodyguard, and so she hires Holly. So the storyline split off a little bit, which I didn't think was too confusing. I still enjoyed it, and then they converge at the end, which I thought was pretty good. I have yet to find a King book that I hate. I'm sure it's out there. That's why I keep avoiding reading the book Dreamcatcher, because I think I'm going to hate that one with the butt weasels or whatever they are. I don't know. So after that, I read a sci-fi called The Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi. And this is the first time I've read a book by him that was not horror. I love his horror. I thought his sci-fi was pretty good. It kept me turning pages. I liked the story. I liked the premise for the time travel. The time travel was like weird. Like, you didn't physically travel, but your consciousness traveled. And it would travel to points in time that you had already existed in. And you'd be able to like see what was happening and see the memory, but you couldn't interact with anything. You can only just like observe. And so like the whole thing is, they'd also do like, every time before traveling, they would answer a set of questions to make sure that like they didn't change. And if they ever changed, then maybe they mess with the space-time continuum or whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, weird stuff happens. It was a good premise. I like the characters. I like the story. I will have a standalone review for this one as well. I don't know if it'll be out before this video will be out. I don't think it will be, but it will be coming. Keep an eye out for that as well. All right, after that one, I read a most excellent and disturbing thriller called Coram House by Bailey Sebald. There was this orphanage that was in Vermont on Lake Champlain. It was run by nuns and a priest. The priest was abusing the boys, and the nuns were horrible. There was one particular one, Sister Cecile, who it seemed possibly murdered 3 different kids. And then there was also this one little boy who drowned that was out in the boat with Sister Cecile and this other boy that someone witnessed that they threw him over into the water and then didn't even try to save him. So there's that. And then there was a whole lawsuit about it, this, that, and the other. Nothing was ever proven with that. Like the abuse from the priest was, like that was all proven. That was all lined up and stuff was similar. But the stuff with Sister Cecile, like the kids had conflicting stories. And so nothing was ever proven against her. So this woman, Alex, is coming to this town to write this book. She's going to be a ghostwriter, and she's teaming up with the lawyer who handled the case to tell the story about this place and the history of it and all of that stuff. It gets interesting because when she gets there, there ends up being someone as a murdered that had a connection to Coram House that causes her to start looking closer at what actually happened, and it's kind of a crazy story, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great thriller, very atmospheric, very moody, very disturbing, to say the least. And after that, we needed a little bit of peace of mind and zen, so I read the book Hiking Zen by Phap Lu and Phap Sa, and I apologize if I'm saying those names wrong. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce them. So Hiking Zen is a nonfiction book. It's basically about being mindful when you're out and you're walking in the forest, just to like, follow your breaths, to enjoy and embrace nature, to hear the sounds that are around you. And then instead of like rushing to your destination, just kind of taking your time, and your destination is in each step. Like you're already there. There's no rush. Like enjoy it and look at it differently and find the peace in the moments and the beauty of what's surrounding you. And like, you don't always stop to like enjoy what is out there. Like the whole like go touch grass thing. And it was a really good book. It's real short. I think it was like maybe 160 pages. It was a lovely read. I love stuff like that. If you like nature, if you are into Eastern thought, or even just like hiking and you want to just enjoy it more and be more mindful when you're out in nature and all that, Hiking Zen was pretty great. All right, now, what was my favorite reads of this month? Well, let's see. Okay, I have 2. One is predictable. Never Flinch by Stephen King. I love Stephen King. Was there ever a doubt it would be that one? Maybe there might have been a doubt. But the other one was The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. It was really fantastic. It's such a good read. It's so heartfelt and just kind of rough around the edges and brutal and beautiful and raw and just so many things. I picked it up because it was an Oprah Book Club pick, and also because I've been meaning to read this author. Did you have any favorites that you guys have read this month? Let me know down in the comments. Always curious to hear what you're getting into. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.